What's going on, guys? So, I did a thing. So, I have created my own spin of Arch Linux. Essentially, um, it's not. I wouldn't consider it a true distro, right? It's really more of an install script for Arch, um, written by me to a address problems I have with Arch install just being generally janky at times, um, and B, um, to get my exact like Arch system set up. So what this does essentially is it creates a minimalist KDE install. And as you see here, I'm sitting at about 1,300 packages right now, but that's because I've installed all my virtual I installed what I needed for virtual machines, right? Which is probably like 150 packages by itself. So like I think straight out the gate it's like 11. It depends on what graphics driver you install, but it's under 1,200 packages, and that's with a full gaming suite installed. Um, I do leverage the CachyOS repositories. It installs those by default. It gives you the option of whether or not you want to prioritize those repos, but it does install those so that we can get the CachyOS gaming meta and all that stuff. Um, and it's just what I do on all my Arch systems. I pretty much always put the CachyOS repos on there. It ships the Zen kernel. That's the only kernel option, just because NVIDIA DKMS is ultimately a better approach than the standard NVIDIA Open, in my opinion. And the Zen kernel has good gaming performance. Of course, you can always install the CachyOS kernel if you want. And that's actually pretty easy to do because it ships my CyberZero toolkit by default. It's built at the end of the script, and then it runs my PS4 theme installation script. It uses KDE Plasma as the desktop environment, so it's in a very opinionated setup, right? So if you don't like Plasma, if you don't want to have this kind of themed setup, um, might not be for you, right? But if you do like Plasma and you do like want a good out of the box, not chunky Arch gaming setup, and you don't want to put in the work of building it yourself, or whatever, and you just want something that's nice and simple and to the point, this is a great option. I've been working on this for a couple weeks now. Um, and it's finally in a state where I feel comfortable sharing about it and showing it off to people. Obviously, it is still brand new, so if you do encounter an issue, please by all means reach out to me on GitHub or on here or whatever, and we can get to the bottom of it. I have tested it. Obviously, I tested it on a virtual machine pretty extensively, and finally, I've done my bare metal testing, and installed it on my machine, and everything is good so far. So, um, yeah. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what you're gonna do if you want to install this, um, oh, in OrbitOS, we're calling it OrbitOS, and there's a couple reasons. One, um, because I got the PS4 theme by default. Now, if you don't know anything about the PS4, the PS4's operating system was called Orbis OS, and it was actually, I believe, BSD based, funnily enough. So, definitely a Unix-based operating system. And given that we're going with the PS4 theme, I thought it would be cool to do a play on that. And with Orbit being kind of a play on, Murder from Mars, kind of going with the space theme. But yeah. So, what you're going to do to install this is you're going to download and flash an Arch Linux ISO because this works directly from Arch Linux. We don't need, I figured that I debated on like doing an ISO and like doing an actual proper like quote unquote distro. But I decided against it for a couple reasons. Number one, building ISOs would be something I would have to learn, which would have added a whole nother layer of undertaking to this project. And then number two, it would also increase the amount of maintenance on my end because then I would have to build ISOs every so often. And, obviously I would have to use my hardware to do that. That's just extra CPU cycles. Not that my PC can't handle it or anything, but it's adding more commitment. I feel like it's easier for me to maintain a script than it is for me to try to dealing ISOs all the time, and not only that, but having to learn how to do Arch ISOs and everything. So I figured a script was the best way to go, an installation script, because I can achieve pretty much the same exact results as doing an ISO, but I can use the pre-existing official Arch ISO that's already there. You know what I mean? I don't have to create my own thing, so I figured that would be easier for me. Obviously, it's not quite as easy for everybody else because that means that we've got to do a nasty little command here to make it work. But I'm going to go over that with you guys right now. So what you're going to type in is you're going to type in bash, and then you're going to do an arrow pointing towards bash, a parenthesis, then we're going to type curl space dash fs capital SL space HTT, and then we're going to do HTTPS colon / raw .github user content .com / murder. I'll make sure to capitalize capital M murder capital F from capital M Mars / capital O orbit capital OS OS / main / orbit OS hyphen installer .sh, and then a closing parenthesis. Now, for some reason, this takes a minute in the virtual machine. I don't know why. It was much faster on the actual bare metal USB install. Like, it was immediate. For some reason, on the virtual machine, it takes a minute for it to like do what it needs to do. This shit was confusing the hell out of me at first because I'm like, what is going on with this shit? Because it's just not doing anything. Like, it's not doing anything. You know what I mean? It's just fucking sitting there, it seems like. But you'll know you put it in wrong, because if you put it in wrong, it'll spit back a 404 error at you. Come on. I promise it doesn't take this long on the... It pissed me off when I actually installed it because it was immediate. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is it so slow on the virtual machine? I don't know if it's just a network thing or just the virtual machine just generally being slower just because it's a virtual machine and it's... I mean, I give it full access to my CPU though. Like, I give it access to all 28 cores, or all 28 threads, I should say. And I give it 16 gigs of RAM, so shouldn't... Come on, man. $20 years. Alright, so here it is. So full disclosure, this project was inspired by my friend Dark Zero and his installation script that he created for Zero Linux. I looked at that and like took a lot of inspiration from that, like using Gum here for the TUI and everything. This is not a fork of that project or of that script. It's completely different at the expression level and everything, but it does incorporate some similar elements that I liked about his installer. So thank you, Dark Zero, for the inspiration. I do also give them credit for the inspiration in my README here. So leave the locale alone. We're going to go to disks. We're going to hit auto. And that's going to list your disks. One thing that I do need to work on that I noticed when I was installing it actually on my system, I do need to like add an ability to an easier way to see, because the only way you can see like what your partitions are is if you try to go to manual, and then you got to like go in there and like it'll ask you if you want to launch I'll show you. So if you need to see your partitions right now, what you want to do is you're going to want to go to disk, then you want to go to manual, and then you can launch CF disk to create or modify partitions, and then you'll hit yes. And then it'll show your partitions, and you can see which disk has what. That's really not going to be a factor if you have multiple drives internally that you're looking at. In which case, I do apologize. That was an oversight on my part. I'm going to have to see if there's a way I can get it to list the partitions like in the TUI without going through CF disk. But as of right now, if you need to figure that out with the labeling, because I know labeling sometimes when on the Arch ISO is weird. It seems like at least on Arch install, like it'll give me like sometimes like I got two drives. One's like 0N1 0, and then the other one's 0N0. Like that's the ending numbers, and that's like how you tell them apart. And it seems like in Arch install, like if I boot up like the Arch ISO multiple times, it'll say like it'll like get them mixed up, and it'll be like, oh yeah, this one is the one that is the one drive, and this one's the one drive that you had your system installed on. This one's the other one. Now, I don't want to wipe my other one because my other one's got a bunch of games on it and shit, you know what I mean? That, would be a pain in the ass to re-download all of them. So, and it seems like it like reverses it sometimes. Like I'll turn it on and then it'll be like, oh yeah, your 0N0 is your drive with your games, and the 0N1's the one with the system, and then I'll reboot it, and then it'll say the opposite. And I have to like go based on what it actually shows has the partitions and not pay attention to the naming. I don't know if this is affected by that. I swear to God, I'm not making this shit up. Like, it drives me crazy. I accidentally wiped my drive one time fucking around with that before I realized what was going on. But anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to disk. We're going to go to auto. You're going to select your disk, and then where you've got the three options of ButterFS, ext4, or XFS. Doesn't matter what we go with. We do have the option for full disk encryption, and it supports disk encryption on UEFI, as well as legacy BIOS. But we're going to hit no because I don't need that. I just wanted to leave it as an option for people who care about it. Then we'll leave hostname alone, and then we'll type our username. Confirm. Yes. Time zone. And then we'll select our region. Then you can search for your city. And then we can change our parallel downloads. I leave it at 5, but you can turn it up to, we have options for 3, 5, 10, and 15. You select your AUR helper. You use Peru. Peru is the default. And then we've got the option for SDDM or Plasma Login. Although it's kind of redundant because basically what this does is this just lets you essentially add on SDDM if you want to use SDDM, because Plasma Login Manager gets installed either way because the script does install the Plasma meta, which comes with Plasma Login Manager. And then we got CacheOS optimized. So this gives you the option of whether or not you want to prioritize the cache repos. I hit yes, obviously. Then we got extra packages. I just put in, some random stuff here that, people might like. You can always install things after the fact. I want to add a search function to this where you can actually manually put in your own packages, but keep it concise. So we will do Firefox. Oh shit. So in order to select these, you gotta hit space. So space on Firefox, and then we'll do Desktop. And then we will hit begin installation. Yes. And it's gonna do its thing, man. Obviously, if you have slower internet, this is going to take a little bit. It is a little bit longer than Arch install. Does more things, sets more stuff up. This adds the chaotic AUR. This adds the CacheOS repos, all automatically. No Dark Zero. We do not add the Zero Linux repos, at least not by default. Still an option in the toolkit. Although you will be happy to know that I do plan on adding a warning to the CyberZero toolkit, basically telling people, add the Zero Linux repo at your own risk. Please do not bother the devs if you have issues, because certain applications they have do not work on Vanilla Arch. Instead, raise your concerns with me, basically. Because I know you guys don't want to deal with the overhead of people complaining because something doesn't work. And it does throw a couple errors, but I've gone over them and they're not meaningful. Basically nothing to worry about. It's mostly CDN errors from the cache repos that gets thrown. A couple of them is like, kernel modules missing type thing. As the build's progressing, nothing to worry about. Nothing that causes any issues. Like, see, there's failed retrieving file. You'll see that a lot. To be clear, you see that kind of error on cache quite often with, like, if you install the cache OS gaming meta, you'll see that it throw that error. It doesn't. I think it's like there's a package list that's getting called that there's like some package that just was taken out of the repo that's no longer a thing or no longer needed. I don't know. You have to ask the cache devs about that one. It hasn't ever caused me any issues, so I haven't complained. And there we go. I'll just type reboot. Hit enter. We'll type in our password. Now, on boot, it basically calls my PS4 Plasma theme installer, runs it, and then self-destructs the script and removes it from the system. And the reason why it's done this way is because the way my install script's set up for my theme, it needs a live Plasma session to work properly. So this is pretty much the only way we can do it without me completely rewriting the theme. Service crash. That happens sometimes when this gets installed. I don't know why. Okay, the theme is set up. Log out, log back in, just so everything takes full effect here. And there we go. And as you can see, we've got Steam. And we've got the CyberZero toolkit pre-installed. I don't know what's going on. This was doing this yesterday too with the mouse being... I'll have to look that up and see if I can figure out what's causing that on the virtual machine. But it's only on the virtual machine, obviously. It doesn't happen on my system. But anyway, so yeah, that's that's the script. I have tested this with gaming. I've tested it on my NVIDIA system. Um, and thanks to Cashy's hardware detection tool, so if we run sudo, as you can see, skipping already installed profile virtual machine for device, because I have a virtual machine profile. Yeah. And this did handle the NVIDIA drivers flawlessly, no problems. So I can't really complain. So we'll kill that. We'll go ahead and delete that virtual machine. So yeah, that is it, guys. It's definitely it's been a thing. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys want to try it out, by all means. Like I said, if you run into any issues with anything, like I haven't tested absolutely every single facet of it, but I've tested it enough to be confident that it will generally work. Obviously I don't have every system imaginable, so I will definitely keep eyes peeled for reports, and you guys let me know what you think about this. Is it too much? Do we really need another arch spin? I mean, we probably don't. You could always install CashOS or whatever, but if you want this kind of setup and want to have, my kind of system, this is a good option. So that'll be it for me today, guys. I'm going to be getting off here and taking a nap before I got to go to work. I was up way too late working on this last night, and then had to get up and get my kid on the bus for school, so I'm like running on an hour and a half sleep. Not great when you're in your 30s. Used to be able to do this shit all the time when I was younger, but anymore, if I get less than 4 hours of sleep, my body's like, what the fuck are you doing? So anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.